this is the talk that I wish that I could have had years ago when I started in security. I wish someone would have just told me all of that. So I made this talk to answer all the questions that I used to have. So thanks for joining me. Let's do this. So the first thing I want to do is explain what the heck is pushing left. So if you imagine the System Development Lifecycle, or the SDLC, written out physically on a piece of paper, when you go left on the screen, you are earlier in the System Development Lifecycle. So when I say pushing left, I mean that I want to be invited as a security person to your party of making software at the beginning. And I want to be there with you the whole way through. So I don't want to be invited just after you've released the code and there's a security incident. No, I don't want to only come in to run a pen test at the end. I want to join you at the beginning, and every single stage where you need me, I want to be there. So we want to be invited earlier. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about the foundations of application security. This is not an advanced talk, but if you work in other areas of security, if you're a software developer, basically if you're not an AppSec expert, you probably want to be in this talk because software security is very important. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about me so that you know, hey, Tanya's qualified to give this talk. So I am Tanya Janca, and sometimes I wear dresses and look fancy, and other times I wear a toque and a hoodie and I watch punk rock music. I'm not always so dressed up. Today, as you can see, I'm wearing a cute GitHub shirt. I really like their little cat. Anyway, so on the internet, I am known as She Hacks Purple, and yes, some of my hair is purple. I'm known as She Hacks Purple because I am a purple teamer. Wait, there we go. I am a purple teamer. So I work for this little tiny startup company. You might have heard of us. We are called Microsoft. And we are a giant company that makes really cool office tools, but I feel is actually a really amazing security company. I might be biased, but I think that's what we're best at. Anyway, so for them, I'm an advocate. What does that mean? It means that I get to talk at conferences, do things like this, write content, share it with the community, and get feedback from them about what they really want and need from us. And that's a really cool, fun job. I'm totally, completely obsessed with this open web application security project community called OWASP. I've been a part of it for years and years. I was a chapter leader for many years, and now I'm a project leader. They are so welcoming, and all they want to do is help people make more secure apps. It's amazing. There's so many brilliant people that are a part of it, and every single one of them wants you to succeed. And I strongly encourage every single person to go join their local chapter or check out our projects or read our wiki. Our wiki is really ugly, but gosh, it's full of smart stuff. I am one of the co-founders of WiCSME, Women of Security. It is a group that myself and a bunch of other women started because, quite frankly, we wanted to just make more cool friends. And it's worked really well. We have 28 chapters around the world, and we brunch together, and we go to conferences or meetups together as a group, so none of us is the only woman there. And we have like little learning circles where it's just us and we teach each other stuff, and it's just been really, really fun and wonderful. And I am part of an open source project called OWASP DevSwap. DevSwap, like sloppy DevOps. And I'm one of the project leaders, and basically my friend Nicole and I wanted to know where we as application security professionals fit into a DevOps environment. And so our project is a bunch of experiments on how we can be effective, like getting security done, making sure our apps are secure in a DevOps environment. And we create videos and lessons and blog posts and proofs of concept. And it's really, really fun. And so that is me. And now that's, oh, and I speak French. Je suis bilingue. Si tu veux parler en français, poser une question en français, c'est bon. So if you needed to ask a question in French, that's cool with me. But that's enough about me. Let's learn about AppSec. So from my old job to come in and test your application or do threat modeling with you, that is application security. If it's formal or it's informal, it doesn't really matter. Like if you're listening to a podcast on the weekend and they tell you, oh, this version of Node.js is very vulnerable and bad things are happening, and you go into work and you upgrade your framework, you are doing AppSec, and I salute you. Thank you. So another thing that I am seeing happening, so my last job, I was a pen tester, and the one before that, and the one before that, and I would do AppSec and pen testing. However, everyone thinks pen testing is cool, and a lot of people, especially customers that wanted to hire me, did not understand what AppSec was. And in my opinion, pen testing alone is not going to make your app secure. Let me tell you why. So I was not the best pen tester ever. I was okay. This is not low self-esteem talking. I just didn't have that much experience. I would do the best I could, and I was okay. And that's life. Sometimes we're only intermediate and we're not senior. However, I would go in and they would hire me like 2 weeks before they're going to push their application to production. And then they would, no one would have looked at security before. So then I would come in and I would be like guns a-blazing, like choo, 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 with all my scanners, and I'd be fooling around with things and breaking stuff. And then I would whip them up a report and give it to them like a few days before they're supposed to go live. And what can software developers do at that point? They've been working on this for a year, and no one's looked at security before, so I look amazing. I look really smart, which I like. I like looking smart, but even better, like I would like it to do a better job. And so the developers have to, stay up all night. And if I had found 20 things wrong, they're only going to fix the worst one, right? They're going to let the rest of it go, and they're going to do it in the next release. No, they're not. And so that is not a good look for security. Us coming in at the last minute, not giving anyone enough time to fix the things, and also pen tests are expensive. Okay, so another thing. So all of you work in security, so you probably already know the mandate of IT security, which is to protect the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of the systems and the data that everyone else in IT creates and supports. So it's our job to protect those things. When I show this image to software developers and ask who knows what this is, if 200 people are there, one will put their hand up and it will be really shaky. This is disconcerting. I feel that security is awesome at keeping secrets. We kick butt at keeping secrets. We suck at marketing. We suck at marketing. We need to shout from the rooftops. This is why we're here, because we want to protect these things. If software developers and the rest of IT don't know where we're coming from, then they don't know why we're bothering them and what motivates us and how they can please us. And I feel that this is something we really need to work on as an industry. Okay, so I'm going to repeat what pushing left is again, because I've heard you need to hear a new and abstract concept 3 times. Wait, three times in order for you to learn it and take it home. And so if you just take away one thing from this talk, it's that I want you to understand what shifting or pushing left means and why it's important so you can go back to your office and do it. Okay, so what is pushing left? Again, the system development lifecycle looks like this. If you do Agile, it's a bunch of little circles. If it's DevOps, you do this very quickly. But the point is no matter what, you need requirements. You need to release the code eventually. You need to code it, test it, and design it. And the further left we go on a piece of paper, when security people say this, what we mean is we want to shift security left. We don't want to be like that pen tester that comes in right before the release and is the first person to look at security. We want that person to be there, or someone else from security, and look over the requirements with them and tell them like, oh, I have concerns about this, or could I add this requirement? And here is why I need to add it. And during the design phase, we need to talk to them about it. If you were going to hack your app, how would you hack it? Tell me how. so I can protect against it. I'm going to explain this with an analogy so it helps you understand. So imagine, in the same vein, instead of building software, you're building a house. So you have saved up money with your partner for many years. You've been saving, and you are having your dream home built. And you're very close to the end. So you have given them the requirements, you designed it, they started building it, and they're right at the end, where they're just putting the handles on the cupboards. You know, you're deciding what color the backsplash will be in your kitchen, putting down, you know, like you're decorating, deciding the colors of the walls. This is the last touches. But your partner, your husband or wife, says to you, honey, I just thought of this. We have 7 children, and we only have 1 bathroom in our new house. What are we going to do? This isn't going to work well. Adding that bathroom during, you know, right near the far right here where things are pink and things are light purple, right near the end, bathroom is going to cost you a fortune. And your project is going to be late, so you're not going to be able to move in on time. And on top of it, where's that bathroom going to go? Right? So you're going to have to take a bedroom and make it way smaller, or you know, you're going to have to sacrifice that walk-in closet that you've always dreamed of. If you had started at the beginning, you know, when you were designing it and you had done a threat model, like what are the risks here? Oh, well, we have 7 kids, and like between the 2 of us and them, that's 9 people that occasionally are going to need to use the bathroom. So we should have at least 2, if not 3. And that would be a thing you would have figured out at the beginning. You could have fixed it then. It would have cost you almost nothing for those extra bathrooms. So this is the same with software. The earlier you find a bug and fix it, the cheaper it is, the better job you'll do of fixing it, and the easier it will be. Because when you wait until the end, trying to fit in that bathroom where there's no actual space, you end up spending so much time just trying to figure out where it goes. And it's the same like that with code. So please invite the security team at the beginning to your party of developing software. Yes. Okay, so now you're all experts at what pushing left is. Now let's talk about how you can push left like a boss. Okay, in my opinion, in order to push left like a boss, in order to make sure that you do a good job, is to create an application security program. And by that I mean formalizing security activities as part of your system development lifecycle. If you tell developers, oh yeah, I want you to do code review from now on, but you have like a project schedule and there's no space in the project schedule where they're assigned that, I assure you they're not going to be doing any code review because they're not going to have time. Extra things always come up, and security can't be the extra thing. We are a core part of the quality of this product. So we cannot be that extra thing that the developer or that the project manager drops on last minute. We have to be there from the beginning, and we have to plan for it. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of different things that could be part of an application security program and what they are. So what are these activities? How do we do them? And then the last part of this talk, I'm going to talk about how you, the person watching this video, can go to work tomorrow and push left. Yes, let's do this. Okay, so an application security program, the gravy. Why does it say the gravy? Okay, so that's supposed to say the main course. Oops. I don't know how I made that mistake. I've given this presentation a million times. Okay, so I really like food. And I wanted to figure out an analogy or a way to explain how you can have a complete application security program, and then even better, and then ones for special activities or special situations. So I want to call this the main course. So the main types of things that you would do if you are launching an application security program. So the first one, actually, I'm going to take a drink of water. I feel if you are going to have a baseline application security program, that you need these things. So I'm going to talk about what these things are. This is my opinion, and this is actually my opinion from 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm actually now starting to update some of these feelings, but I don't want to change my old slides too much. So let's talk about what each one of these are, and then later we'll talk about how you can accomplish them. So the first one is vulnerability scans and vulnerability assessments. So there are a lot of excellent tools and not excellent tools on the market that will scan your systems for you. So it'll just do an automated scan of your app or your infrastructure or your cloud and tell you, I think I found this stuff. That is a VA scan. A lot of people call that a VA, which is a vulnerability assessment or a security assessment, which just is not the same thing. A security assessment or a full vulnerability assessment, you scan, you use a bunch of tools, but you also go and you look where every single security related part of your application is, and then you punch it in the face. You're trying to figure out, like, if there's a login, you need to go and test and make sure that that login actually looks good. So you're verifying if it's vulnerable or it's not vulnerable. And this is important and totally different than just running a scan. So anyone can run a scan. I have taught lots of software developers how to run scans. Scans are good, but scans will only find around 25 to 30, maybe 35% of your vulnerabilities. It will miss a whole bunch. But you need to run scans and you need to fix the things that your scanner finds, because anyone can run a scanner. I used to have co-op students and they ran scanners. In like a week or two, I had them running scanners because it's really easy. And what that means is a 14-year-old who's in a bad mood in their parents' basement can also run scans, and they could try to find things wrong with your application, which is illegal, don't get me wrong. But you don't want a very unsophisticated, malicious actor to knock down your website. That is embarrassing. So you definitely need to scan things and fix them, but a vulnerability assessment, a security assessment means bringing in someone who is an expert at this, that knows what they're doing, that will assess all the different security controls within your app and make a plan for you of anything that they are worried about so that you can fix it. It's a different thing. And a lot of people say the same thing, and I want to save you money, so they are not. So the next thing is threat modeling, which I call evil brainstorming. And the idea is that when you're in the design phase, when you're talking about what the app will do, you need to bring a business person, a developer, or like the tech lead, the engineering lead for that project, and a security person together to discuss what they think the risks are. So what keeps the business person up at night? What are they worried about? And the developer, like if you were going to break into your app, how would you? Like, where do you think the insecure parts are? And when the three of you talk, you will be very surprised as to what kinds of problems you might find. You make a list, and then you go and fix them. If you can't fix them, sometimes you accept the risk, but the idea is that you need to document this. There's a lot of different existing methodologies for doing this, but just to start, just sit down with them and have the conversation about what they think the threats are. And like, you will get really, really good at this as you keep doing it, and you will find it the most fun meeting of your week. But anyway, enough about threat modeling. Okay, so the next thing is reviewing your code for security vulnerabilities. A lot of places do pair programming or code review. A secure code review is where you just look for security concerns. You can also use a tool called a static code analysis tool. Most of them are very expensive. I'd love to tell you a story where they're not, but they're very, very complex tools that require a lot of time to create. A static code analysis tool takes a long time to run, and it parses your app into little pieces, and then it points out areas where it thinks that there's vulnerabilities. And then you, the security expert, goes and checks them out to see if they really are or not. Then you make a list of bugs and you give them to your software developers. It is not a sexy process, it's hard work, but you will find a lot of things that you wouldn't find with scans or like a regular assessment of the code. So the last thing on this list is penetration testing or pen tests. When I was a pen tester, my title was pen tester. Everyone's like, you're a hacker, etc. But I would almost only ever actually do security assessments. I would describe what a security assessment was, and the client would say, yes, do that, and then I would do it. However, penetration testing, a lot of people think it's really exciting and sexy and fun, and I totally get it. It is fun to find vulnerabilities. It's totally fun. But with a penetration test, the thing that you do that is different than a security assessment is that you are finding vulnerabilities and then exploiting them to see just how far you can take the problem and to prove that there is a problem. So a lot of places that I would do testing, they wouldn't be using any security headers. They would be, I tease them that they're allergic to security headers. But security headers, in my opinion, are really important. I feel that they're seatbelts for web apps. You know, they're not sexy, they're not hard to use, you just make a habit of using them, and then if a problem happens, they will protect you and minimize the damage, right? And so I worked somewhere and they're like, we don't care that we're not using those security headers, so I made a proof of concept of an exploit of me stealing their usernames and passwords off our production site, and then I was like, haha, do you see why we need these security headers? And then they agreed. And so a pen tester will, break into the network. They'll try to pivot all around within your network. They might try to collect trophies if they're told to, and they want to see how far they can take it to prove to you the actual risks you're facing. Well, I totally see value of pen tests. Just mostly what companies really need are vulnerability assessments. However, feel free to hire people as you see fit. Last note on this extremely long slide is that all of these things apply to not only if you create your own applications in-house, but if you buy a big product and implement it in your office. So let's say you implement SharePoint. SharePoint is a secure app. Microsoft works really hard on that. But before I worked for them, I went and pen tested it somewhere, and they had implemented it incorrectly, so it was insecure. And I was able to do all sorts of fun things that you shouldn't do, and I helped them change it so they followed the hardening guide that comes with SharePoint, and then they were no longer vulnerable to those things. But if they hadn't run a security assessment or a penetration test, they wouldn't have known about all those problems. And then bad people, malicious actors can still get in and can still attack them. So just because you bought something from a company does not mean it's secure, or the way that you've implemented it is secure. So if it is a big app that will be used by a lot of people, especially if it will be hosted internally or in your cloud and then available publicly, you definitely want to make sure you do a security assessment or a pen test of it. Okay, next. Usually, I would ask an audience if they know what this is, but because you are all muted, you won't answer, but I want you to think about what this is in your head. This is the Canadian national dish. This is poutine, or as people that don't speak French say, poutine. Poutine is French Canadian, and it is a bunch of French fries, and then you put a bunch of cheese curds in it, and then you put really hot gravy on top so the cheese melts into the fries, because it's really cold in Canada, and sometimes we need 3,000 calories in one sitting. And so this is like our most popular, well-known dish in my country, and it actually tastes really good. Anyway, so the next part of this talk, I want to talk about gravy or sauce, condiments. I want to talk about how we can make your application security program even better and more advanced, right? So I want to talk about supporting developers and creating resources and things like that. So these are things that I feel if you have the other stuff handled, oh, you definitely can start doing this. Okay, so the first thing is educating developers. So you have all the security knowledge in your head, you should share it with the software developers. You might be surprised by how much they want to know. Whenever I would give lunch and learns, to software developers, they're usually totally fascinated because software developers want to create awesome applications. They want their application to be the best. And if it's not secure, it's not the best. So you could give workshops, lessons, talks. You could have someone like me, if I lived in your city, come in and give a talk. You'd be surprised how many of us AppSec nerds, especially people from OWASP, who are interested to come in and teach for free. Also, create standards or guidelines. On my website, I have published a secure coding guideline. Feel free to copy it, please do. I wrote it to try to help. And it is, it's like a list of things, you know, if you're going to do a file upload, here are the rules. Or, you know, websites should only be available via HTTPS. You need to force HTTPS and not allow HTTP. There's just a bunch of specifications for software developers that help make sure that they make a secure app in the first place. Another thing, so I work at Microsoft, as I said earlier, and they are the ones that started the idea of a bug bounty program and responsible and coordinated disclosure. So we are the ones that created the most popular operating system, Windows. And because it was really popular, that meant lots of people attacked it, unfortunately. And so a really smart, awesome woman named Katie Masuri, she figured out, like, well, if we let security people report to us when stuff is wrong, then we can fix it. And the idea of responsible and coordinated disclosure is if someone finds a vulnerability, that you give them an easy way to tell you. As an example, like I booked an appointment the other day to have a massage. Yeah. And when I went to their site, I realized I could go to it on HTTP or HTTPS. And that's not secure, that's a bad idea. So I wrote them a nice message and said, hey, I want you to know, like, I found this and, you know, here's the reasons why that's scary and it's a bad idea. And I think you should try to fix it. If you want, I could talk to your, you know, your webmaster or whatever. Back in the day when you wrote someone a letter like that, they would sue you. And now our industry has changed. And instead I got a nice thank you letter, right? And so I firmly think that you should definitely give people a place to tell you when there's a security problem, and then you should thank them. Like, sometimes I know that the way they tell you is not polite or the best way, but definitely saying thank you for letting us know, we will look into that. It's so much better than finding out on Twitter or Reddit or the darknet that you have a vulnerability because you ignored the email that they sent because it went to info@yourcompany.whatever and you just never saw it. The last item on this list is get creative. So you can create a secure coding library. You can give them reference materials. You can create custom tools to help them get AppSec done. It's up to you how you accomplish this, but basically, like, just do anything that you can if you and the developers think it will help, right? Ask them what they need, give them ideas. And like companies such as Netflix, they make a ton of AppSec tools that are really, really, really cool. And it helps them create more secure software. Awesome. Okay, so the last thing on this list is dessert. So you don't eat dessert every day. It's just for a special occasion. And so when I'm talking about these things, these are not things that you need to do. These are things for special situations. And so, but I want you to know they exist and what they are. So when people talk about them, you're like, I know what that is. Okay, so the first one is bug bounty programs. That is where the company puts up a special copy of their software and creates a program and invites hackers, security researchers to come in and test this other copy of their software or their system or their site. So it's safe, so they're not attacking the real system, and they give them rules of engagement. So like, here are the rules, so you're allowed. And if the security researchers find something wrong and they report it, and they are the first one to report it, the company gives them money to thank them. They give them a bounty. There are several big companies that run these things. So Microsoft runs one, Google runs one, Amazon runs one. All the big companies, like really big software companies, run their own. However, you can hire other companies like HackerOne or BugCrowd to run them for you if you feel it's necessary. However, this is a super advanced thing. A lot of companies that offer this as like HackerOne, BugCrowd, they will tell you, oh, you should just start with this. No, they are biased. You should not start with this. You should do all the other things first to support your software developers and support your security team to make sure they have everything they need and you're doing all the basic good AppSec. This is a super advanced situation. You don't need a bug bounty for everything. Like if you're creating like a calendar app, like you probably don't need to have such an advanced system as this. But I digress. The next thing is capture the flag contests or CTFs. So a CTF is basically like a game, a challenge, where you invite software developers, security enthusiasts, whoever, to hack a system that is vulnerable on purpose. It has security puzzles, and they like solve the puzzles, and then they get points, and whoever's team has the most points at the end, they win. Why am I suggesting we play games at work? This is a highly, highly, highly educational way that's fun to learn about security. I remember bringing a whole bunch of software developers I know, a whole bunch of women, to a CTF and then showing them how I could get behind the JavaScript validation, and then I did an SQL injection, and then we were suddenly administrators of this box. And all of them were just like floored at how we could do that in only a few minutes. And then one of them said she had to run back to her office and make some changes. But the point is like they'll never forget that lesson for the rest of their life, right? They now know about, JavaScript validation is not enough, and also that, how to fix their SQL so that they won't have injection problems, right? So it was fun. It was like a good team bonding experience, but also like they learned valuable lessons. The last item on this is red team exercises. So let's start off with who is blue team. So normally I would ask everyone in the audience to put their hand up if they are blue team. Blue team are defenders. So blue team, if you patch servers, you're a defender. If you configure servers and network to make sure they're secure, you are a defender. If you write code, you are most likely a defender. If you fix the vulnerabilities that I find in your app, you are a defender. And so what is red team then? They're the opposite. So if you are a penetration tester, you are red team. If you are participating in a bug bounty and trying to find vulnerabilities, you are red team. I am called She Hacks Purple because I am a purple teamer. Because I attack things, I still hack them, I still try to find vulnerabilities, but I also help you defend. So I'm going to sit at your desk with you and try to help you fix the bug I found. I'm going to give lessons to everyone to show them so this is how I found this new type of bug, and this is what we all need to do to make sure it doesn't happen to you, and I need you to all go back to your desk and test your code with this. So because I play both sides of this coin, I am called purple team. Aha, I told you I would get to it. So red team exercises are where you hire a team to attack your production services. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of chaos engineering, with the idea that you on purpose cause outages to test how your rollovers work and how your backups work and how to make sure your load balancing is truly perfect and seamless. I know it sounds really scary to do it. It's a very advanced topic. So you should not do this until you have done the things on the first and second slides and you're doing them well. The Canadian government has a red team and they attack our military regularly. They also attack our military colleges, the students, so they can learn what it's like to be under attack. The red team certainly finds it amusing to attack the students, and the students learn a lot, right? And the idea is of finding real life risk as opposed to theoretical risk. So when you do threat modeling, that's theoretical risk. You think it could happen. But when a red teamer breaks in and says, hey, Tanya, would you like to be reminded of what your password is? Because I know it. Then that's real risk, right? So again, please don't start with anything on this slide because you want to start with these a bit later. Although capture the flag at any point, you could definitely make a team building exercise out of it. All right. So I bet this whole time what you are thinking is, oh my gosh, Tanya, pushing left sounds amazing. I love AppSec. How can I do it? Well, the last few slides are about that, so I am glad you asked. Okay, so 1, you can test your code yourself. So to test your code, let's say you have a web app, you could use something called a web proxy security scanner. It sits between your app. So there's your browser, here's your app, and in between there, it sits and it watches all your requests going to your application. They all go through it, and it is plotting your demise while it does that. So it's like, oh, Tanya put in a username and password. Great. I'm going to try to put in a bad username and password. So what it does is it watches and it sees as much as it can that's wrong just by reading the requests and the responses. But then when you turn it on to attack, it will actually script automated tests for you. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about a VA scan. That's what these things do. There's paid ones, there's free ones. But the most important thing on this page is don't scan apps that you don't have permission to test, because in almost every country that's illegal. And I don't ever want any of you to get in trouble because you did something you saw I wanted you to do. So always get permission in writing from someone who has the authority to give you permission. So if the guy in the cubicle next to you says, yeah, you can test it, that's cool, ignore him. Ignore him. Make sure the person with authority puts it in writing. Okay, so caution. Again, this is a slightly dangerous activity. I've made some videos of how to do it, like a few, to make sure you don't get into trouble. I don't want any of you to ever be in trouble. So have permission from your boss and tell the security team you're doing it. You do not want someone running into your office and losing their crap because they think that you're actually a malicious actor when really you're just trying to verify that your app is secure. Be considerate. Scanners are big, slow, and take up a lot of resources. So if you set your scanner to the max and point it at your dev server, then no one else will be able to test and you will be unpopular. Scanners make a mess sometimes, so you should back up your data before, and then if it makes a mess, you should restore the data after. And basically this causes a bit of, you need to learn a bit about this and practice locally on your own machine against an intentionally vulnerable app so you can get good at it before you do it at work on a real app. So be careful. There's lots of videos that we can recommend and talk about after, so to make sure you get this right. Okay, next, threat modeling. Threat modeling is figuring out negative use cases, or what some people call abuse cases. So what, like someone's supposed to do it this way. Well, what might someone else try to do? As a spoiler alert, if there's money involved, people might try to steal the money. If there's sensitive data involved, someone's going to try to steal the sensitive data, right? So what kinds of ways could they do that? It's basically brainstorming between you, a security person, a business person, and a software developer. Once you find this list, go search in your code and test your code to see if you can find these problems. This is also, in my opinion, kind of a good team building exercise so that you can get to know like the software developers on your team and make sure that I feel it's really important to have good connections and that you can talk to them, and this is like educational for them, and it can be fun if you make it that way. Okay, so next, reviewing your code. Do you see this woman's face? And she looks super relaxed and zen and confident. That's because she reviewed her code and she knows it's good. So most people, a lot of people use a static code analysis tool, but you can manually review your code. You just look for anywhere where there's supposed to be a security thing happening, like a security control, so a login, encryption, role-based access control, anything like that, and then you review it to make sure it looks right. A static code analyzer is basically, it's a tool that will parse out your app and look for any possible problem. It does symbolic execution, which means it doesn't actually execute. It just looks for every possible path and way it could go, and then it tells you, oh, I think that this is a problem. A lot of people complain about static application security testing tools, also known as SAST, because they'll give you around 95% false positives. However, if you have 20,000 lines of code, they tell you you have 200 problems. You read those 200 problems, it turns out you only have 20 problems. Yes, it was 90% false positive. However, you didn't have to read 20,000 lines of code. You only had to look at 200 things. So it actually saved you a lot of time. However, the industry can be split on this, and it's hard work. So you need an expert to help you do this. You can't just assign a software developer to do this. This will not go well. So this is not a cheap activity. One last thing, so I want to say two more things. You can find more than security bugs. Oh, I'm not showing my screen anymore. Let's see if I can share my screen again. Okay, I'm back. Yes. Okay, so two things. So one is when you do a secure code review, you can find more than security bugs. I worked somewhere and we were creating some software that needed to be used on a 32 kilobit modem in the Arctic. So Canada has lots of Arctic, in case you didn't know. And those people still need services, right? And so we were building software that had to be so teeny tiny small. And when we did a secure code review, we ended up finding 22 memory leaks, and we fixed them. And then we succeeded in our goal, and our app ran efficiently on tiny 32 kilobit modems. And that's amazing, and we wouldn't have found that without doing strict code review. The other thing is, no matter what you're doing, you need to scan your third-party components. So let's say your framework, your NuGet packages, your JavaScript libraries, like all the libraries, any sort of code that you didn't write but that's included in your app, you need to scan them to see if they're known to be vulnerable. So I don't mean you need to do code analysis on them yourself. If you really, really need to, if you have a very, very high level of security that you need to maintain, you could do that. However, generally, what most people do is they use a tool that looks at, okay, so you're doing, you're using Node.js 10.12. Okay, so that one is known to be vulnerable for these things. We suggest you use this other version instead. Just to be clear, I don't know if that version is vulnerable or not, but what it will do is tell you, like, this component that you're using has high risks. This component that you're using, as far as we know, doesn't have any high risks. It does not guarantee that they are secure, but it does guarantee that it's not known that they're insecure, and that's really important. There are a lot of tools that can help you do that. Okay, so the last one is that you could just write better code. I realize that this may come off as slightly condescending, and that is not at all how I mean it. So if someone is an elite athlete, that person does not leave, the field every day, go home, eat junk food, sit on the sofa, and watch TV all day. They practice, they review what they're doing to make sure they get better, they learn more so they can get better, they watch videos of themselves, etc., so they can constantly be better. So as they hone their craft to get better, they become those elite experts, and we can do that too. Everyone can be more awesome at their job. And so part of that is writing better code. So you can, if you're a software developer and if you are a security person, you can support these activities happening. So you can train yourself on secure coding practices. So if you're on the security team, you can provide time or money and or resources so that they can train themselves or bring in a trainer. There are many, many, many quality online security learning resources that are free or paid. There's formal training programs, there's conferences. I'm going to give you a long list of things at the end of free resources that you can use. And that are things I used or that I created because I needed to learn, right? This is the third bullet point is strangely the most important one. So when I was a software developer, I'd be in my little cubicle, all happy, code. And then I would get to something where I didn't know what to do. And do you know what I would do? I would go on the internet and look. And I would almost always end up on Stack Overflow, my favorite website. And I would pick the top solution on the page to solve my problem. So, I forget how to connect to this type of database. And I would pick the most upvoted lesson. Guess what? That answer is always the least secure possible way to do anything. People would find, if we don't set cores to star, or if we, use parameterized queries, that's more work. So what they would do is the answers that would get voted up are always just really, really insecure. So one, Stack Overflow, awesome. They made a secure section. So a section where it's the most secure way to do the thing. So look there. Or when you are searching online with your favorite tool for searching, you should look up the most secure way to do the thing. So instead of it taking 30 seconds to 60 seconds for you to solve this problem, it will take 3 to 4 minutes, but you will create so much more secure code. So this is a tip. Please tell everyone. And the last thing that you can do is you can become a security expert. Become a security champion. Be that person on your team that everyone knows. You will come and help them find the answer. If you work on a security team, you should encourage people to become security champions because they are your true allies. They are the person on the software development team that everyone else already knows and trusts. So when you teach that person a lesson, they will teach it to so many more people. You probably have a small staff, right? And so you need to be very effective with your time. And if you can spread the message via security champions, you should definitely do it and encourage them every chance you get. Now I want to talk about resources. So please, you might want to take screenshots. I will make these slides available after. It's up to you how you want to get them, but here are a whole bunch of resources and all of them are free. So this is the start of our long-term application security relationship. Yeah. Okay, so first, OWASP. I love OWASP. I'm such a huge fan. It is the Open Web Application Security Project, so OWASP. Yes, that is not an easy to say acronym. However, it is a wonderful community. There are hundreds of thousands of people that are touched by OWASP regularly. They have so many pages of amazing, amazing information. When you go to our website's ugly, we know. We are not graphic designers. We are security nerds. We are trying to upgrade our webpage so that it will be more beautiful. Please don't think our ugly website means we don't know what we're doing. We do. Whenever I don't know the answer, I go here. So please consider joining your local chapter of OWASP, following some of the projects, or just when you are looking online how to do something. So look up OWASP and then the thing you're trying to do, because they will have code samples, examples, and lessons to teach you how to make sure that you do a good job. I made this blog post, and it is a list of all free resources of how to get started learning application security. So some of them someone else taught me, and some of them they're things that I wrote. So I really, really, really want you to learn AppSec, or if you have people below you that need to learn it, I want you to have as many tools as you can to help them. So go to the site, there's several things on there at this point. If you are into DevSecOps, you should consider watching the OWASP DevSlop show. So this is my open source project with OWASP, and there's the link below at the bottom, and basically we interview people and ask them about their cool OWASP projects, or we do DevSecOps activities. So in my opinion, DevSecOps is where AppSec people fit in DevOps, right? So how to do AppSec in a DevOps environment. And so we just explore as many ideas as we can and different tools so that we can show you like all the answers that we have and try to find more. Another thing, so every Monday on Twitter, I do this hashtag campaign called Mentoring Monday. So if you want to get into a different area of security, or if you know someone that wants to get into security that needs a professional mentor, what I have been doing is pairing people online so that they can bring new people into AppSec or into information security. If you have worked in security 2 or more years, I encourage you to look up this hashtag and answer people. Lots and lots of people in our industry are responding to people, even if it's you send them a direct message privately and you say, hey, I saw that you're really into forensics. I do forensics professionally, and I listen to these 2 podcasts, I read this blog, and I read this book, and you should definitely read these. You know, ask me questions if you have any, and, you know, like, I'm here if you need me, or you could have a virtual coffee with them. So I've done that with a bunch of people where we just get together and, you know, I tell them, you know, what I'm hoping to do next and ask if they can offer me advice or help me. And sometimes you create a formal relationship and sometimes you just give them that extra push to help them in the right direction. But I appeal to you. If you have 2, 3, 4 years in security experience, please, please, please consider helping someone, especially you, all the listeners who are women. There are so many women who are really uncomfortable to have a male mentor. And so you reaching out to them, even with just like one message that's like, hey, I saw this and I can't meet with you regularly, but I want to tell you, you know, my career's been awesome. Here are the things that I did. Here's this book that meant more to me than anything. And like, if you have questions from time to time, maybe I could help. That would mean so much to someone who's getting started. So please consider Mentoring Monday every single Monday. And I want you to know that you are always welcome as part of WiCSME. You don't have to join. If you're a woman, you're just welcome. We have chapters all over the world. We're always open. We're always happy to open more. So if someone wants to start one, just let me know. Basically, we just want to make more friends. I feel like there's a big problem with women leaving our industry. And I feel like maybe if they had lots and lots of friends, that would be less likely. So as opposed to trying to get women into STEM, we're trying to convince them to stay. So we do, you know, women-only learning activities. We go as a group to other activities. So last year, or in this past year, we crashed RSA conference, Microsoft Build, several different B-Sides conferences, DEF CON, and so we went as a group. So then it's like, oh, I have lots of friends here already, I'm comfortable, right? And then from then on, lots of women could go and do things together so they all felt safe, comfortable, relaxed. And so we really, really want to support other women. And we have a Twitter account at the bottom, and all we do is retweet awesome stuff women are doing. So you can tweet at us if there's something cool that you want us to share. We want to be a positive light of cool stuff women are doing on the internet, and that's it. So if you want to be a part of it, just let me know. Everyone is welcome. We're not a clique. Everyone, you're in basically. Yeah, so thank you. And lastly, as a resource, I would like to suggest me. Please consider following me on Twitter. I share lots of things there, and I share things on LinkedIn. LinkedIn won't let me connect with more people, and I think that sucks. I'm really sorry about that. I wish they would let me connect with more, but they won't. But you can follow me there, and you can see things that I share there. I have a blog on Medium, and I blog the same things on dev.to, so whichever platform you like better. So please subscribe so you don't miss anything. I have a YouTube channel, which is She Hacks Purple. Yes, that's me, where I interview people about things I just think are really cool, or I teach you how to do things. So like, oh, I'm like learning how to do this, and then I'll just like stream it so everyone else can see how to do it. And then I also have a mailing list. So if you never want to miss anything, you can join up for my mailing list, and it has lots of cute pictures and stories and yeah, just cool things. And with that, I would like to thank all of you so much for your time and attention today. I know that you could have done lots of other things with your evening, and I really appreciate you spending your time with me. So thank you.
Wow, thank you, Tanya, so much. This has been wonderful. It's been awesome and very, very useful and rich content. Thank you very much. So, do you have like 5 to 10 minutes for a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I have a quick question, and then I leave the floor to others to ask about code obfuscation for mobile apps. Do we have anything else other than DexGuard? it can get pretty expensive when you have many apps, and I understand big entities have the capacity to do their own obfuscation algorithms, but if we don't have this capacity, can we hire someone to do that? Do you know if this can be done?
I was actually talking to someone about this recently. So a lot of people that are starting startup companies kind of pass their ideas by me because I want to convince them to apply for the Microsoft Startup Program. And so I try to offer advice that's helpful and then persuade them to join our program. And so someone was asking me earlier, like last week, about that, and he was saying he's going to use a code obfuscation tool, but then he's also going to use something that takes so he's writing a JavaScript app and takes it and turns it into a binary, and then the binary goes to the browser. And so then they'd have to reverse engineer the binary and then like de-obfuscate the code. And I have to say that like one of the first security incidents that I got to investigate, it was obfuscated code. And quite frankly, like I had no experience, but I was just a nerdy software developer, and we're in the meeting and I'm like, oh, I can read that. Oh yeah, that's a select statement. And all they had done is like double encoded it, and I could decode it. Like I just wrote a PowerShell script and then boom. And you know, before you know it, I was like, oh, I see why our data is for sale on the dark web. Right? And so like obfuscation is kind of like flipping these letters and that, and like from what I understand, like it's not, it just makes it a lot more difficult, right? And so if your secret sauce is in there, like turning it into a binary before you put it into so I don't know how that guy was doing it, but I was like, damn, I've never heard of that before. So you might want to investigate if that is an option for you. So where you've compiled it into a binary and then it goes like to the mobile app. And I don't know an obfuscation tool that is not pricey. I don't know one. That doesn't mean one doesn't exist. Maybe if your company rates one, you could, I was just going to say you could open source it, but then I know what will happen is that bad people will take it, reverse engineer it, and then
there is one actually, but it's not open source, and it can be expensive when we have because it has its licensing based on the number of people who download your app, and if we, Egypt is a populous country, so when we have so many customers, this gets pretty expensive if we have several mobile apps. So I was looking for something, that I heard that other big entities do their own thing, do their own obfuscation algorithm. So what do you think of this? You said someone converts it into a binary and then before it goes, but we may not be able to do that with many of the software if it's a purchased software. It's not in-house developed.
Okay. So I don't know the answer, but a thing that we could do is that you could send me a message on Twitter. And so I have like the smartest followers on the internet, I swear. And so whenever I don't know the answer to something, I tweet and ask about it, and then I could CC you on the tweet so you see all the responses, and we could start like an open discussion about it. Like, someone told me they're doing this, like, how would you do that? And like, we know this tool exists, and there's probably a lot of people that really want to know the answer to that. It'd probably make a great discussion if you're open to that.
Yes, sure. Okay.